Welcome, Washington education professionals. This brief presentation will provide an overview of the solutions Pearson offers to meet the screening tool requirements for Washington state legislation. My name is Kathleen Woodward, and I am a school psychologist as well as an assessment consultant and regional manager for Pearson. And co-presenting with me is Elizabeth Shanley, an educator and Pearson assessment representative for Washington state. The aimswebPlus assessment system will meet your screening needs in the areas of early literacy, reading, and dyslexia, as well as mathematics and behavior. Frequent progress monitoring can then be provided to the students identified to be at risk. And benchmarking or interim assessments can be administered in the fall, winter, and spring to ensure that all students are making progress throughout the year. aimswebPlus has a hybrid assessment model to meet the variety of needs that educators have when utilizing their assessment results. aimswebPlus uses a multi-test battery approach for screening. This model combines high-quality curriculum-based measurement with standards-based assessments. aimswebPlus has curriculum-based measurements that are brief, but are both reliable and sensitive to growth. These types of measures are designed to measure automaticity and fluency of basic skills. CBMs are easily used to both screen and progress monitor students. aimswebPlus also uses standards-based assessments, which give further depth into the understanding of what students know and also what they need to learn. These measures use a vertical scale across the grade levels. These measures are based on standards that are recommended for each level. And information gleaned from these results can be used to differentiate instruction. Both CBM and SBA data is used together to develop composite scores. The purpose of these composite scores is to evaluate overall risk within an academic area at the group or individual levels. Benchmarking and universal screening are used to confirm that groups of students are progressing within the core curriculum and also to understand each individual student's performance and ongoing progress across a school year. Tests are administered to all students on grade level up to 3 times per year. Individual and group results may be compared to district or national norms and analyzed for risk of not meeting locally set spring targets. Students who are not demonstrating expected results may be targeted for specialized intervention. If large groups of students are not meeting targets, systematic changes may be implemented at the classroom, grade, school, or district levels within the core curriculum. aimswebPlus also helps with progress monitoring. Progress monitoring can be done with those students identified to be at risk. One of the great features of aimswebPlus progress monitoring is, instead of being tied to the student's grade level, you're able to drill down to the student's instructional level and zero in on only the skills you are targeting for intervention. Progress monitoring is an essential component within RTI and MTSS models. Progress monitoring tools should be able to easily assess students' performance, quantify rates of improvement in relation to responsiveness to instruction, and evaluate effectiveness of interventions. Monitoring in aimswebPlus uses simple, efficient, valid, and sensitive curriculum-based measures, or CBMs, to gauge student growth toward individualized goals. Goals are set with the specific idea in mind that they will close the learning gap. Data is collected up to once a week and analyzed on an ongoing basis throughout the intervention period to ensure that interventions are effective. When used together, universal screening and progress monitoring provide a complete picture of growth on essential skills at grade level. Use of an ongoing cycle such as this enhances academic growth of students and systems together. This is a list of all of the English measures that are offered within aimswebPlus. For the purposes of alignment with the screening legislation in Washington, we are focusing on the early literacy and reading measures, but we also want to note that math measures are included within the aimswebPlus pricing structure for Washington State. Each measure is brief and reliable. Our early literacy measures for pre-K and K-1 are administered individually by the teacher versus computer administration to allow for the best information about their individual performance on the identified tasks. aimswebPlus also offers a variety of measures to be delivered to students in Spanish. Spanish early literacy and reading measures have special norms based on students who spoke fluent Spanish and had received ESL services.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Shanley, and I am Pearson's Assessment Representative for Washington Schools. I'd like to now go over some of the measures within aimswebPlus that address the Washington State literacy screening requirements. Initial Sounds is a 12-item, untimed test administered to kindergarten students in the fall and winter benchmark periods. This measure assesses a student's ability to match a word to the initial sound made by the examiner and the ability to produce the initial sound when a word is spoken. Isolating and producing the first sound of a word is a valuable pre-reading skill. The 15-item untimed phoneme segmentation measure assesses a student's ability to identify and make each individual sound within a word that is spoken by the examiner. Hearing, identifying, and reproducing separate word sounds is related to reading decoding. The examiner says each test word, and then the student responds with the individual 3 or 4 phonemes for each word. The nonsense word fluency measure assesses a student's phonics skills. This includes their ability to express individual sounds or sounds as a main part of a blend in non-real words for 1 minute. Sounds must be expressed as they would in a real word. The 1-minute letter-word sounds fluency measure assesses a student's ability to make letter sounds, make the sounds of 2-letter combinations, and read aloud consonant-vowel-consonant or CVC words. This task is similar to the general developmental progression from letter-sound correspondence to oral word reading. The student first sees rows of boxes that each contain 3 letters, and makes each letter sound. Next, the student sees boxes that each contain a consonant, a vowel-consonant pair, and a CVC word. For these items, the student makes the consonant sound, the vowel-consonant sound, and then the CVC word made from those sounds. The 1-minute word reading fluency assesses a student's familiarity with both regularly and irregularly spelled words used frequently in kindergarten and grade 1. The student sees columns of words and reads as many as possible within 1 minute. aimswebPlus currently has RAN, or Rapid Automatized Naming measures for letters and numbers. We are adding a third RAN measure of familiar objects coming soon. Letter naming fluency is a timed measure that is administered during all benchmark periods of the kindergarten year. This measure assesses a student's knowledge of upper and lowercase letter names. The student sees rows of letters and names as many as possible within 1 minute. This measure, as well as all timed measures, look at automaticity of skills. Automaticity is a precursor for mastering more complex and higher order reading skills. The number naming fluency measure is also administered to kindergarten students at each benchmark period throughout the year. This measure assesses a student's ability to accurately and rapidly recognize and name numbers from 0 through 20. The student names as many numbers as possible in 1 minute. Next, I'd like to take you into a brief tour of the aimswebPlus teacher-facing platform. Through this, you will see how to navigate within the web-based platform to collect your students' data. The aimswebPlus login screen, you can either log in manually, or you may also integrate your district's SIS system through a rostering service such as Clever. Your basic navigation of aimswebPlus includes using tabs and drop-downs at the top left side of your screen. The 3 main tabs that you'll want to navigate to are Students, Groups, and Manage. The Students tab and drop-down menu are where you can go to collect benchmark and monitoring data, and to also view a variety of summary and student reports. The Groups tab and drop-down are where you can go to view group-level data at the account, district, school, and class or custom group levels. The Manage tab and drop-down menus are where you can go to manage your account settings and account setup. Notice that on each tab, there are filter fields along the left side of the screen. These are available for you to determine what you want to view on the various task and reporting screens. I also want to highlight our online help system, which is available by clicking on the How Can We Help button at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. This screen is linked to the screen that you're viewing in the aimswebPlus account so that you have the information you need immediately. Here you can access numerous videos on how to administer and score measures, and also how to use the aimswebPlus platform. This is also where you could go to access our mini guides and manuals, along with the test materials needed to administer the measures that are scored with digital record forms. Here in the Resources and Downloads fields is where you will go to find the test materials and the stimulus materials for some of the measures. Our manuals, our Getting Started tutorials, and notice again how it brought me straight to the benchmark screen help window. That was because I was on the benchmark comparison window in the aimswebPlus platform. Now on to the demonstration of the measures. First, I'll show you the digital record forms. Before administration of the paper pencil measures, you'll need access to your paper copies of your stimulus books from our help file. Again, you would go to the How Can We Help button, which will open a new tab. You can then find the test materials in our Downloads section and make sure you have the right copy available when you give the assessments. Remember that the teacher uses the digital record form through aimswebPlus, and the student views a paper copy if administering the measures in person, or a digital screen shared copy if administering the measures remotely. To administer the measures, you'll go back to the benchmark comparison screen. You'll select your roster, click View and Refresh, and then you'll find the student that you would like to assess. You'll click on the Assess button and then indicate that you would like to give the measure. This will pull up a digital record form that the examiner will use to keep track of the student responses. You can view the Preview button to make sure that the student has the right paper copy or screen shared copy in front of them. Next, read the directions to the student and click Begin. As the time counts down, mark any errors that the student makes. If there are special circumstances, you can certainly stop early or start over. Once the minute has elapsed, mark the last item that the student has attempted, and the results are then populated into the benchmark comparison screen. Here you can view the existing data for students who have already completed the measures, and the data has been collected and populated through the digital record form. Next, I will demonstrate administration for students in grades 2 and up who will log in to TestNav. From the benchmark comparison screen, I'll navigate to my second grade roster. Before students are able to sign into TestNav, the test session has to be unlocked by the teacher and the student login credentials shared with each student. There are many ways to access and download student login credentials or test tickets. Once the test tickets are ready, the green ticket icon will appear next to the student's name. Now I'll go into TestNav as a faux student. The TestNav app must be previously installed onto the student's computers. I'll click on the green ticket icon to view the login credentials. Navigate to the TestNav app. Here the student will enter their username and password, and then they can begin their tests. Again, this will lock the system down so that they cannot do any other types of activities or navigate to any other screens or windows during the testing session. Each test is preceded by a few practice items to make sure that the student knows how to do the test. The student will simply navigate through the practice items. And should anything happen during the testing session where they would need to exit out or navigate away, they simply go to the drop-down menu, sign out of TestNav, and click Save and Return to finish later. Once the student has completed the assessment and submitted their responses, the results will automatically merge into the aimswebPlus account, and you can review the results on the screen across various group and student records. So here below are the students who have completed their assessments and have their scores populated in the benchmark comparison screen. And now we're going to take a look at a few of the reporting options available within aimswebPlus. There are a number of reports that are conducive for analysis of data at the systems levels, including district, school, and class. Data can be viewed by specific time period or by growth across time. Some reports offer a high-level view of overall skills, while others hone into more detail at the individual skill level. There are also a number of reports that are specific to each individual student. These reports are extremely helpful at data meetings and for helping to determine intervention needs and the impact that those interventions and supports have on students. As with group reports, both current performance levels and growth can be analyzed. So let's quickly take a look at a few reports. What you will see in this benchmark comparison screen is a broad overview of how students are performing and shows which students are most at risk and should be progress monitored. The color coding represents the percentile bands, such as blue being well above average in the 90th to 99th percentile, aqua blue being above average, and so on. This color scheme works wonderfully for quickly spotting our students' strengths and weaknesses. aimswebPlus can also sort students into tiers based on recommended target thresholds that are provided. If a district wishes to adjust these target thresholds, the platform allows for this flexibility. The Scores Snapshot Report is ideal for parent communication because it provides a short explanation of what each result means and reports the student's risk status, and a recommendation of what the student is needing in terms of intervention. One of the advantages of having a tool like aimswebPlus is to measure growth throughout the year. Here on the Progress Monitoring Report, we are tracking the rate of improvement and whether or not the student is trending to reach their goal.
As an added feature included in the pricing for Washington State districts, the Shaywitz DyslexiaScreen can be integrated with the early literacy screening results in aimswebPlus and provides educators additional data to help identify the students who are most at risk for reading failure. And here we have the Shaywitz integrated report that will help guide decisions around which students are at risk for dyslexia. There are two risk designations. On the left are students at risk for dyslexia as determined by the Shaywitz DyslexiaScreen. And the next status is the risk determination as indicated by our reading measures. At the top, you'll see the breakdown of the population, which could be a teacher's class or an entire grade level. Additional group reports and individual student reports are also included. In summary, aimswebPlus will provide screening for reading, dyslexia, behavior, and mathematics. It provides frequent progress monitoring and benchmarking. You'll get detailed growth reporting that looks at both individual and group growth. And it does meet all of the requirements to be used as a literacy screener tool while also capturing additional insight for dyslexia-specific screening. Thank you for taking the opportunity to learn more about the aimswebPlus tool. Feel free to reach out to us at any time with any questions you may have.